Number 10. Anthony Barajas. On July 26, 2021, a popular TikToker named Anthony Barajas was tragically killed inside a movie theater in Corona Crossings, California. He was seeing The Forever Purge while out on a date with a young woman named Riley Goodrich. The 19-year-old star and the 18-year-old girl were both shot to death by Joseph Jimenez. During the film, Riley's mom apparently got a text from her daughter saying that the movie they were seeing at the Regal Edwards Theater was boring. Little did she know, that'd be the last time she ever heard from Riley. The message was sent moments before the gunman walked in and started shooting. Joseph killed the two of them at point-blank range. Anthony managed to avoid getting hit by the first shot by dodging, but the second one injured him right in the eye. Apparently, the staff at the theater didn't even realize people had been shot until after the movie finished and they came in to clean. Somehow, no one heard the gun go off, which, considering how loud some cinemas get, isn't too surprising. The suspect was arrested, but police officers weren't immediately able to find the murder weapon. After searching Joseph's house, investigators discovered what they thought was the gun he used. Anthony's 900,000 followers on TikTok grieved his death and were heartbroken by the news. Riley also had a bright future ahead of her. The young woman played volleyball and had a scholarship lined up for college. Sadly, both of them were taken from this earth way too soon. Number 9. Louise Cam. In early 2023, two men were exposed as cold-blooded killers when an elderly woman they were scamming didn't hand over her assets. The suspects identified in the case were 28-year-old Mohammed El Aboud and 25-year-old Qusay Al-Jundi, and both of them were handed 35-year prison sentences for what they did. Qusay attempted to seduce a wealthy 71-year-old woman named Louise Cam. She owned several properties and altogether had a portfolio worth millions of British pounds. One of the buildings she had was a group of apartments near the restaurant Qusay ran. She wanted to get rid of them and sell them off in order to send money to her children, but Qusay instead offered to buy them himself. He said he could give her about £6 million, which was well above the actual value of the property. The man claimed he had another wealthy backer and even sent Louise voice messages coming from this person. In reality, the backer was actually a woman named Anna Reich, another person Qusay was scamming. By this point, Qusay had already stolen 2 cars from Anna that he promised to pay her back for. He also got into her head by sending her numerous texts proclaiming his love and devotion to her, but it was all just a ploy for money. Qusay did the same thing to Louise to try to get part of her portfolio. When it didn't work, he resorted to murder. Qusay and his friend Mohammed, who'd been living in the disputed property after Louise initially handed the men keys, sneaked up behind her and strangled her in her own house. They also smashed an object into her head, wrapped Louise's body up, and threw it into a trash can outside. The men's murder was uncovered after Qusay's girlfriend, model Maria Amariakai, ratted them out and spoke as a witness against them in court. Maria and Qusay often posted videos on TikTok together dancing in the home Louise let them stay in. Seeing how shamelessly the murderer dances on camera, knowing that he killed a person, is chilling to say the least. Number 8. Jordan Sorensen. In early 2023, a kidnapped teenager from Arizona was discovered in the home of a man from Utah. The 14-year-old victim was targeted by 26-year-old Jordan Sorensen after he made several comments on the girl's TikTok posts. After doing a bit of searching, Jordan also uncovered the teen's Snapchat, where he started sending her personal messages. The things he told her sounded innocent at first, but they quickly escalated. He got the underage victim to reveal her address to him by saying that he'd send her stuff like food. After finding out where she lived, Jordan then told her that he was going to drive all the way to her house from Utah and abduct her. The teenage girl didn't actually think he was going to follow through, but sadly, she was wrong. It terrified her when she saw him, but he said that if she ignored him, there'd be consequences. In order to avoid that, the innocent girl met Jordan at a motel. Unfortunately, he assaulted her there and forced her to come back to Utah with him. When she got to the motel, the victim was wearing a monitoring device on her ankle, but Jordan cut it off before they left. Security footage captured the two of them getting into his car and driving away. Police were able to narrow down the suspect's identity by tracking his license plate. The teenager was rescued from Jordan's basement where he sexually abused her several times. When this took place, the man had already been registered as a sex offender. Because this incident happened recently in February 2023, there isn't an official sentence yet. However, Jordan will likely be severely punished for assaulting and kidnapping a minor. Number 7. In and Out. A short video posted on TikTok at the end of 2022 sparked outrage online. The clip featured 2 young adults being verbally attacked with both racist and homophobic insults while they were minding their own business. The 20-year-old woman who filmed the encounter, Irene Kim, says she was just trying to record her friend's reaction to the food at the popular fast food restaurant In and Out. While at one of the franchises in California, Irene had the camera pointed at herself and her male friend as they were eating. Out of nowhere, 40-year-old Douglas Craw walks up to the pair and calls them multiple slurs. Irene and her buddy were both of Asian descent, and Craw asked if the young man was Kim Jong-un's boyfriend, which was obviously incredibly insensitive. To make things worse, Craw also made a few unnecessary comments that Irene's friend was most likely gay. In a roundabout way of dealing with the strange, unprovoked conversation, the young man responded to Craw with a few jokes, but both he and Irene seemed uncomfortable in the footage. Before leaving the pair alone, Craw says that he would usually spit in their faces. For some reason, he also called himself a slave master before saying that he'd see them outside soon. When he left, a person came up to Irene and her friend to see if they were okay. They saw that Craw was standing outside the restaurant and was staring at them for about 10 minutes after the interaction. So an employee walked the two to their car to make sure nothing else happened. The video Irene posted went viral. It was obvious that Douglas Craw had committed a hate crime with how he talked to the young adults. Thanks to social media, he was arrested and now potentially faces over a year in jail for what he said. Number 6. Couple of killers. In August 2022, a popular TikTok couple was arrested for the murder of Dakota Bradshaw. Eric Dodds and his partner Jonte Kavan Collier were taken into custody in Georgia towards the end of that month. The 29-year-old victim was shot to death, and witnesses at the crime scene told law enforcement that they saw Eric and Jonte speeding away from where the shooting took place not long after Dakota was killed. The 23-year-old TikTok stars were followed by over 800,000 people on the app. Their content consisted of LGBTQ-positive videos and their relationship. After the arrest, Eric told fans of the page that he and his lover were innocent and everything was okay. He even started a GoFundMe fundraising page in order to raise money for their court fees. It's believed that more people were involved in the shooting, but details on the case have been scarce. Apparently, a woman referred to as Miss Collins has been referenced as taking part in the crime, but not much else is known. As this case plays out, we'll have to wait and see what the truth is, so justice can finally be served. Would you continue to watch someone's content if you found out they'd murdered someone in the past? Let us know what you think in the comments. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. Number 5. Frances McKendy. TikTok rapper 27-year-old Frances McKendy was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 15 years. He was found guilty of attacking at least 6 women in northern London between September 2017 and December 2019. The victims ranged from 20 to 32 years old, and they were all targeted inside either staircases or hallways of apartment complexes. Frances approached them all with a knife before sexually assaulting them. Investigators think that he used some kind of kitchen blade as he forced the women to engage in sexual actions with him near their homes. The predator apparently even filmed some of the interactions for his own sick enjoyment. After security camera footage of Frances, who was nicknamed the Camden Doorstep Rapist, was released, he decided to turn himself into the police instead of living on the run. While only 6 victims have officially been uncovered, officers who reviewed the case are almost certain there's more. Frances was able to get away with the crimes for so long since he knew where most of the CCTV cameras were and wore gloves to cover up fingerprints. The man also made videos on YouTube, and in one of them, he made a rap saying that he hadn't had consensual intercourse with a partner. Luckily, he'll never have the chance to from behind bars. Number 4. Michael Dudley. A few years ago during the summer of 2020, a TikTok video depicting strange suitcases washed up on a beach in the western Seattle area. The teenagers who filmed it were frightened and were scared someone might have been in them. The footage shows a young girl using a long stick of some sort to open up one of the bags. The caption said that an overwhelming odor came out of the luggage as soon as its top was opened. Unfortunately, the teen's biggest fears were true. The suitcases contained the remains of 35-year-old Jessica Lewis and her 27-year-old boyfriend, Austin Wenner. The couple were living in a room that they rented from 64-year-old Michael Dudley. They apparently hadn't paid their rent on time and got into a fight with the elderly landlord. Nearby neighbors reported hearing gunshots in early June as well as the voice of a man begging for mercy. When authorities went to the scene to investigate, Michael refused to open the door. The cold-blooded landlord killed Jessica and Austin with a gun before dismembering their bodies. He then placed them in garbage bags and set them inside the suitcases. After all of this, he threw them into different bodies of water in the area. The TikTok of the luggage received over 30 million views, and many users said that it should be taken down out of respect for the victims. This eventually did happen at the request of Jessica and Austin's families. Michael was found guilty of 4 second-degree murder charges as a result, and he's now facing life in prison for the gruesome crime. Number 3. Chosen Terrell Hanna. In February 2022, a TikToker named Chosen Terrell Hanna was arrested for robbery. The 22-year-old suspect was accused of stealing from 4 separate stores. Over the course of 3 months, Chosen had apparently gone on a raging crime spree when he mainly visited retail locations and stole shoes. Police eventually identified Chosen, who goes by Chosen World on TikTok, by some sneakers he was wearing. Officers saw him dancing in the so-called stick-up shoes he wore while robbing businesses. In the first robbery, witnesses reported the thief wearing dark clothing, a ski mask, and bright white shoes. After threatening an employee with a gun, he escaped with the money without being caught. The other burglary instances featured a man with a similar getup. An anonymous tip pointed investigators in Chosen's direction, and they soon found his TikTok page. His physical description lined up with witness reports and security footage they'd collected. He also had the same shoes as the thief. Finally, after checking his phone for location records, they found that Chosen was near the scene of the crimes when they happened. For armed robbery, this TikTok star faces over 20 years in prison. Number 2. Robert Moores. TikTok definitely has a dark side. The popular short-form video app draws in many young users on a daily basis, which isn't necessarily a good thing. With a younger user base, there's almost always going to be people with ulterior motives using the app as well. One of these scumbags was 36-year-old Robert Moores. The adult man used TikTok to find and send explicit messages to minors. The Englishman often pretended to be 12 years old while texting literal children and asking them inappropriate sexual questions. His actions were first discovered when one of the child victims showed her father the messages Robert had sent her. The young girl was incredibly distraught, and her dad took immediate action. In December 2021, a few days after the young girl received the inappropriate messages, Robert was arrested. Police searched through his phone and found almost 100 pedophilic videos and photos. All of the victims featured were younger than 11 years old, and the youngest was just 6. Robert will be placed on the sex offender registry for the rest of his life and has been sentenced to a 7-year sexual harm prevention order. The order is intended to prevent him from being near minors and to limit his internet access. He will also be spending time in jail. But honestly, it feels like a slap on the wrist considering the depravity and disgusting nature of his crimes. Number 1. BRIANNA GHEY. A transgender TikTok star and advocate named BRIANNA GHEY was murdered in February 2023. On the 11th of that month, police responded to a call about a body being discovered in a Warrington, England park. When they got there, they realized that it belonged to BRIANNA. 2 15-year-olds were quickly taken into custody and questioned about what happened. Not long after, Cheshire police charged them with the murder. Since this case happened very recently, a motive isn't entirely clear. Some speculate that this could have been a hate crime. The victim's family and fans were devastated by the news of her passing. Those who knew the young woman describe her as an incredibly strong person with a beautiful soul. She had many followers on both Instagram and TikTok who shared similar sentiments. Several vigils have been held in BRIANNA's honor as those in the transgender community continue to grieve her. Many will be keeping close eyes on this story as details of the alleged killer's motivations come out. Who's your favorite content creator on TikTok? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bad Badger.